When power accumulates in our head, we can either exploit it for good or evil. But how does Blue Lock actualize these intentions? Is it through the individually well-crafted characters and their honed backstories, or the practicality of making Blue Lock a place where equally egotistical people gather up and see who is more egotistical? It's really all one massive conglomeration of ego-driven maniacs on a conquest to become the best striker in the name of ego. So why ego? Well, to say ego was the meaning of Blue Lock would be an understatement, and is doing injustice to the material. I mean, a substance-filled premise of this caliber surely has exponentially more complex plot points, right? Well, if you ask yourself, is the sky blue, I'm sure that'll make you conventionally correct. But you're only halfway there. You never answered the question. You left it unanswered, unattended. There is a science behind it, just like Blue Lock, and it's symbolism. The representations of different characters, their motives, actions, and many other features are a symbol of the ego displayed in Blue Lock. Characters like Baro, Nagi, and the MC Isagi have their individual reasons for attending the facility in the first place. Think about it. Blue Lock is a bunch of players, not a team of players. So can these earlier presumptions on power be correct, or a false statement? Power is not inherently good or bad, but it stems from one individual who ascertains the knowledge, influence, and dominance of the world. What he or she decides to use it for is completely dependent on their own subjectivist viewpoints. Many players in Blue Lock use this to draw upon their own stylistic advantages, in the form of developing their own unique playstyles, in which all stemmed from the main philosophy, the credence of Blue Lock, ego. These characters are selfishly competing for the same goal, and will try to develop and execute their own skills to attain said advantage, such as the time when Isagi stole the ball of Baro. If he can out-project his beliefs amongst other very gifted players, then I'm sure it'll just bolster his already great reputation. So why is reputation so important? Well, it gives you an undivided value, and indiscriminate place on purpose to know where you currently stand. In Blue Lock, these rankings incentivize the actions driven by the characters to constantly improve and make significant developments, learning about luck, coincidence, and other concepts along the way. Why? Because the purpose of Blue Lock is to take horrible, low-life scum and craft them into the best of the best, using psychological manipulation. In other words, ego. The head of Blue Lock makes the characters do all the work themselves, instead of having to transcend his own abilities and devise other strategies to make this work. It's the ingenious plan to assimilate all these bad players in one spot, as not only does it weed out the unworthy, but also brings together the most hungry players in Japan. This is what they mean by ego of Blue Lock. Conceptually, these ideas work, so a figurative sense of the character's beliefs are developed, and so are the strengths while simultaneously minimizing their weaknesses in a literal sense. By having these players enact these adaptations through vigorous testing, naturally, Blue Lock just metaphorically means the assimilation of astute, hungry players, and practically means the development of said players and their individual aspirations. Now, how do we find out what characters are worthy of keeping their beliefs intact? Comprise a multitude of long, arduous tests in which categorize each player in a specific way. For instance, Isagi and how he had to develop and adapt to the conditions of Blue Lock, with the team battles, gamer tag, and triple battles. Each time it was a different scenario, another situation for him to devise a strategy to overcome, inadvertently increasing his perception on what Blue Lock was trying to achieve, and his eventual acceptance of these desires. This is symbolic through Isagi's journey, as he was always taught never to take the most important shot himself, and rather pass the ball, representing him essentially passing on his responsibilities to another player, handing away his future aspirations and dreams to another person. Blue Lock evolved him and many other players in a way that seems inconceivable without further investigation. Blue Lock isn't intrinsically a sadistic place and cutthroat players versus players, but the semblance of the newer generation and categorization of how strong their beliefs are. None of this is ever compromised, as it is a linear progression for the characters that are deemed worthy within Blue Lock. The Blue Lock serves as a clash of philosophies and intentions, showing that if you aren't resolute enough and have a weak mind, you aren't worth the time to expend any effort on. For example, the representative of the time, this future prospect, was instantly eliminated. Conversely, success in Blue Lock is demonstrated through evolution, evident when Isagi literally evolves midway through many of his extensive matches. The ideology of ego is what instills this preemptive imperative in every player to achieve their goals. They must outcompete. They must exceed their own expectations, and then, and only then, will the goal of Blue Lock be completed. To create the single most egotistical players in the world, and let their dreams and aspirations run them wild. In summary, this interpretation of ego is what drives all these players to compete against each other and disregard the other person. Empathy, compassion, and love are all obsolete in the world of Blue Lock. The only way to interact in Blue Lock is with a distaste for all the other players as they strive to appropriate your glory. This is the true evolution of ego in Blue Lock that takes over the minds of each and every player. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more, don't hesitate to leave a like and subscribe, and as always, peace!